How do you like that clickbaity title? No, actually, it's nothing really as sensational as that. I'm just trying to take people's advice, like I care. If you're not willing to manipulate people with, that's me checking the audio, you don't really care. This is going to confuse me, that thing over there. Let's close that. All right, but really not sensational. Now, I think first of all, if you let's say we were all Congress people, because they're the ones with the decision, and it's inherently personal of whether or not to impeach a president, President Trump in this case. Now, there's definitely should be a high bar to doing that, a threshold. Two kinds of thresholds. One, a personal threshold, but then also once you become convinced, he should be impeached, you should also have to check with other people. Um, but now there's enough of a call for it. It's basically something that everybody should think seriously about. And if there is a Democrat, a Joe Manchin or something, who says, well, I don't think he really did anything wrong, or people that disagree with my idea that I had mentioned about obstruction of justice is illegal because you're trying to cover up a crime. If there was no crime and you're trying to cover it up anyway, that's stupid. You still shouldn't do that. You might be covering up, whoever is guilty might not be found because you're covering things up. So it is definitely to me a separate crime, but maybe you don't believe that, or maybe you don't believe that the president should have the same standard. Some of these things, which I think are anti-constitutional and against the American system. I wouldn't say anti-democratic because you can have all kinds of bureaucratic powers and discretions in its system. It's built out of people playing the particular role and having certain decisions. That something is at your discretion doesn't mean that you can decide however you want, though. If you're a sheriff, it doesn't mean you can break the law just because you get to decide who to send the cop cars after. That's why the FBI can come in and arrest you. It is illegal. Things that are in your discretion, you're being trusted to exercise that law. You're being trusted to, you know, enforce the Constitution. Trump actually took an oath to do that. If you find he's not, if he's contradicting the Constitution, then he should be impeached. But also, whatever these misdemeanors, oh, he made us look bad as a nation. Um, you could even impeach. I'd be less inclined. I think most Americans would be less inclined. The Republicans, obviously, pretty much were for that. Uh, in a sense, but it wasn't. It was it was a felony. What is it? The lying that Clinton did about the blowjob. I forget what level of penalty it is. He lost his bar license and stuff. Um, but if people took it more seriously, they might impeach a president for having a power dynamic affair with an intern. You could impeach for, I don't know, some moral standards or whatever. I wouldn't. What I'm saying, though, is that each member of Congress should decide, and it should not be political. If you think it's going to hurt you politically, that should not be a reason not to do it. That just shows that you have no values. If you think it should happen, but then you're not going to do it because of politically, you're making this like you're trying to guess ahead, and I don't want to do something that's right. I don't want to arrest this guy that's about to give me a job. Yeah, that's corrupt. And when you do that, you might jump out of one frying pan, but you're into the fire where the Democrats, even though they have the more whatever empathetic, you could say, or just I think they're practical, but just for stability, but whatever you want to say, these you know if you want to be a conservative about it, say they're giving away the money. Nobody trusts them because if you're double, they do too much of this the last 20 years at least. The mainstream ones that have been winning the primaries and things that the party supports at least seem to be doing too much double, whatever. I think what I'm saying about whether the Democratic Party is doing that, but that's besides the point. I'm saying right now in this kind of situation, you should not do that. If you think it's going to hurt you politically, but you think it should happen, you still need to go ahead and do it. Whether the guy was going to give you a job or whatever, the blowback you're worried about, it's a matter of law and order to a certain degree, though it's really different from that, impeachment. but it's because if the Department of Justice and nobody has the ranking to prosecute a criminal president, that's because they wanted to let it be in the Congress. They then become the legal system in that special case, and they should act on it. And if it hurts them, this is too bad. Just like they shouldn't do it just because it's going to help them. They shouldn't do it because they think it would help them, but they don't really believe that if they really believe the president should be able to do whatever they want, if it was a Democrat and they wouldn't do it because they're like, well, they got elected, they could do what they want, then that's the way they should vote impeachment wise. I obviously believe he should be impeached. I think the emolument is enough, but there's definitely the obstruction, even just the lying to public. I mean, I wish it would be emphasized that, saying you had no contact with Russians, turning out that you did, that's bad enough. Turning out you were trying to make $1 billion tower, that's fraud. You cannot tell the people a fact. You can make a promise and, oh, it didn't happen, things change, whatever. But you can't say like, no, I don't have a Moscow deal going for a tower, and you do. That's not okay. Lying in advertising would be fraud if you're selling what? A weight bench, but not for running for president. So um, we don't have some written rules like that, except for that's why impeachment is kept so slight. Impeachment is not exactly a legal proceeding because you don't go to all those laws. Those obviously inform you. If somebody actually broke those laws, like the emoluments, like the obstruction, then definitely that seems like, okay, we have no choice. But it can be on other things like the massive lying, frankly. And I wish they would emphasize that because we need more truth. The whole idea that, oh, but truth's impossible. Fuck that shit. It is not impossible. You can't tell what the truth is. There's ways to drill down to it. And sometimes you find out, oh, this isn't a matter of truth. This is a matter of personal taste, vanilla versus chocolate. Yeah, but sometimes you don't. You either did have a deal, trying to make a deal with Russia, or you weren't. You can't be both ways. So I say yes, and it'll be tried in the Senate. Fine. Let the senators also vote on their conscience and whatnot. If the Senate acquits him, then we just find out that, oh, I guess presidents can do that, but not really, right? Oh, I guess presidents can do that if the Senate is in their hands. Well, whatever. I don't see that we need the presidents have committed and caused the United States to commit, and our whole institutions have so many war crimes and crimes against our own laws in history and now, and we're breaking the Geneva Conventions now, that they don't need extra protection to be able to keep breaking the law. Quite the opposite. That protection needs to break down, and the rule of law and order needs to happen. And I don't really remember if people are saying, "Oh, look at Bill Clinton." No, I lived through that. I was paying attention, and I was also never a fan of Clinton because I was a Jerry Brown fan. I didn't like the DLC and the direction he took the party. After he left, I realized, well, at least they hire competent people to not all great people, but they don't just like fuck up the system through incompetence. All right, they kind of understand what they're doing, and even if they're extracting wealth or keeping it with their donors and stuff, uh, the crazy incompetence and wasting money that's not going to come back to the United States. But anyway, I didn't like him at the time, but I don't remember it hurting him politically in the sense that like he had to resign. The impeachment failed. The people weren't that upset with him. But I remember Gore having to think about, should I even have him campaign for me? Do I want to be associated? It was like it hurt. And partly just because people are like, well, they might rally around a president that's being attacked by the weaker forces and root for the one name they know the best. Oh, look, they always do that with those presidents. But they also are like, yeah, but we're done with that. We don't want to have to keep talking about that, keep rooting for the president. We don't want the guy that's going to have his baggage. And so I remember it not helping the Democrats. Clinton might have survived it, but I don't think it helped the Democrats. Um, so just the fact that they can predict very well is super unlikely. And they shouldn't be trying to predict in that sense. They should. It's the same thing with wanting more investigation. There's either enough now to investigate, or of course you're going to keep investigating anything new that's coming up, but you already have enough information. And it's not one thing. You don't say we're impeaching because of item 3. This is gross misconduct, and you put it all in there. And you definitely have to prioritize. Um, uh, and decide which evidence is indicating that you have no choice for your own personal, as a House of Representatives representative individual, and you should focus on those, and the party should focus on that, and then we should go through it and have a public dialogue about it, and whatever happens. Um, I, to me, thinking about the political ramifications is as evil could really be. It's very bad because that's like that's why the Catholic Church protect the priests for so long. Think of what it would do to this whole community if this man was thought to be some sort of a scumbag. Yeah, think what it would do if that man continues to have power. And whichever, doesn't matter. Law and order makes places more lawful and ordered. So that's what I think. And as usual, I'm right. You feel free to steal those ideas, though you will have to pay um, me a royalty. And I'm sure you know how to do that. All right. Cheers.